guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new idontworkherelady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled A Small Look at Why Karen Acts Like That. I work with a Karen, though not in retail. Recently, this Karen was regaling some co-workers with a story about some hell she raised at a store, and she was quite proud of herself for being rude to the store employee. At the end of the story, she tagged on a coda to justify her obnoxious behavior. Her logic: you have to stand up to them, and you have to push back on them, because it will make the shopping experience better for everyone else that comes after you. Karens believe that they are training retail big box store employees as though they were puppies by screaming, throwing tantrums, and humiliating people. Dude, they're not applying any lessons they've learned from you acting like an overgrown baby with a hideously dated Kate and her 8 haircut. They're posting about your pants-wetting meltdown on Reddit. The next story is titled Getting Angry Customers at Home. So I work overnights and I come home when everyone else is going to work. Today I'm coming home after a very long 12 hours at work. I live on a really busy street, lots of traffic and pedestrians. It's not Main Street, but it might as well be. I recently moved in here, and it's a very nice 3-bedroom apartment at a super reasonable rate. I'm overall very excited to be living here, but there's one major downside: it's above a teeth whitening business. So far, this has only meant that I have to be aware of noise when the woman who owns the business is downstairs with a client, since I'm home during everyone else's business hours, and she sometimes parks behind my car when I have to go somewhere, even though she's not supposed to use the driveway. Today I'm coming home and a guy is walking by. As I'm walking up my front steps, he angrily calls to get my attention. At this point, I'm dead tired and my patience is hovering around 0. He says, "I've been trying to call you all week," and doesn't respond well to the visible confusion on my face. If you can't answer your phone, the least you can do is call people back. I'm still confused and ask why he would be calling me, because I'm exhausted and my last brain cells were used to not crash my car, so I can't put 2 and 2 together. He doesn't get it and just says, "I was gonna call you again today, but now you can't avoid me." I can't even form words anymore, so he just says, "You're the dentist lady, right?" Finally, I understand and calmly say no, I just live upstairs, and he just walks away without another word or apology. I should also point out that I was wearing my uniform that is obviously not dental, as well as a name tag with the name of my employer on it, and everyone who lives here knows of my workplace, and it's very obvious looking at the house that people live there too. The next story is titled Lady from Ikea. So this is rather funny and short post, but my mom mentioned it to me yesterday. It all happened around 10 years ago when I was teenager and 16. I was in Ikea with my parents. I was talking with my mom when some random lady tugged me by my arm into different direction. Me: "I'm sorry, but, lady, I know that you are Backh0e, but I only need you for a second." Me: "Yeah, but I was with, lady, oh, I'm sure that nice lady wouldn't mind borrowing you for a moment." I look at my mom for any form of help. She was holding back laughter, but didn't do anything. I love my mom. Actual and Plow was looking at her stoned. Lady: "So I was wondering what it's difference between those two light." Me: "I don't work here." She looked at me up and down, turned beet red, and started to apologize. Lady: "OMG, I'm so sorry. I thought you were in Plow." Me: "Sorry mom, I'm 16. She was very embarrassed. My mom was laughing her butt off, which only made woman more embarrassed. My dad was looking at me and lady confused. Me: "If you want opinion on color of this Christmas light, I can give you mine." She was very sweet and polite, and I helped her pick a Christmas light she wanted. Lesson from here: don't wear blue polar to Ikea on Christmas rush. The next story is titled You Need to Plow My Driveway. This happened a few years ago, but I just remembered it from a post I just saw about snow. I was working for a construction company, and it was the day after a blizzard. I was running a backhoe all around the town plowing the parking lots of the various buildings owned by the company. While driving down the road to the next lot, a woman ran out of her driveway and stood in the road right in front of me. I came to a stop since I couldn't just pass her, since there was oncoming traffic. She said, "It took you damn long enough, now clear my driveway and be quick about it." I said that the company that I work for doesn't do driveways. She said, "You work for the town. Now to your responsibility and clear my driveway. I said, the town doesn't do driveways either. To which she said, shut up and do your job. To which I said, okay, I will, and with that I took off down the road while she stood there screaming. Later that day, I ran into a buddy of mine who worked for the town and told him about this woman. He said that there was a town employee a few years back that was fired for plowing people's driveways for extra cash using town equipment while on the clock. She must have been one of his customers. Even still, the company I worked for had its name clear as day along the loader boom and the backhoe boom. The next story is titled, But I Want This. It happened to me today. Went to Macy's today to pick up a cookware set we plan on donating as part of my car club's Adopt a Family holiday giving. Most of what the family requested we were able to purchase online and avoided most stores, which I was extremely pleased about. The mom of our adopted family's #1 request was a new set of cookware. I spent TJE past week researching and checking Black Friday deals and found a great deal. Only problem is that it is an in-store only purchase, available until 5 p.m. I figure I would go in the afternoon, shouldn't be too bad. And it almost wasn't. Store had calmed down and employees seemed to be in good spirits. I asked an employee if any of the cookware sets were left, and he said they had a few and pointed them out to me. He also told me to come right back to his cash wrap after I grabbed one because he just emptied one of those little carts they have. The box the cookware is packaged in is kind of a big awkward box, and I can use the card to get the box to my car. I grab the box and head to the cash wrap, and yes, the box is big and I can barely wrap my arms around it. I take a few steps. This lady walks up and starts to pull the box out of my arms. I ask her what she's doing, and she says she wants the cookware set. I tell her there are more over there, jerking my head in that general direction. She tells me she will just take this one. I say, no, this is mine. Go get your own. She says, but I want it. I tell her to go get one. She tells me I am being rude and she will tell my boss. I tell her she is going to tell my boss I was shopping on Black Friday. Kinda, should be expected. I pivot a little to get around her to get to the cash wrap, where the gentleman asks me if I found it okay and pushes the cart up to me. The lady says, wait, I saw you two talking earlier. You work here. I tell her I do not work here and I was just asking someone who works here for help. You know, normal interaction when shopping. She just stares as I pay and thank the gentleman who helped me. She never said anything else. I think she might still be there. The next story is titled Just Found an Umbrella and was mistaken for an employee twice. This happened today. I was grabbing a coffee with a friend, and this coffee shop is in the same rooms as a bookstore. After warming up, I went to the toilet. It's a free for customers, but not the rest, and someone forgot an umbrella there. Being nice, I took it out of there and figured out. I just asked the man at the information point where I should leave it cause maybe the owner will show up. The employee was in the middle of helping a woman and her child, so I just stood there and waited when a woman approached me and asked me, where do I find comics? The city I live in has a shop called Comics. So I just looked at her and was like, I'm sorry, what? Thinking she was in the wrong store. Lucky Luke Comics. Where do I find them? Me? I don't know. I don't work here. She? Oh, I just thought because you wear blue. This store doesn't have a uniform, but the employees of the bookstore wear a name tag, and those of the coffee shop have dark clothes and brown aprons, so I was confused. Then I asked the coffee guy. He told me I should bring the umbrella to the register. While I waited there, I didn't stood in line, and another lady approached me with a question. Before she could finish, I was saying, sorry, I don't work here, lady, and she just huffed and was cutting the line to ask the poor cashier in a not-so-nice tone. Then the cashier looked at me and was looking at me like I was the next Karen, but I just told her about the umbrella and left. I told my friend and dragged him out of there because I had the feeling that the next person was also mistaking me for an employee. So nothing bad happened, I was just really irritated. The next story is titled French grocery stores are scary, especially when you encounter angry women demanding paper towels. For some context, this happened in 2018, but I found this sub and thought this story might fit. I grew up in Canada, important, but have a lot of family in the UK and Germany. When I graduated high school, I thought it would be a great idea to save up some money and travel across some of Europe, visiting relatives and such. I flew to Scotland, had a great time, Ireland, England, the whole shebang. I had the terrific plan to swing by France, Belgium, Netherlands on my way to Germany. In theory, this was a great idea. The Canadian school system had made me take 8 years of French. What could go wrong? Cue me in a carafer, looking for cheap snacks. I guess I look like work there, cause this lady power walked right up to me, like a fat kid looking for more samples in a Costco, and started speaking in very rapid French, looking for paper towels or something like that. I could barely understand her between her French, me only knowing the bull version of French they teach you in Canadian public school, and me already having trouble with how fast people spoke. I, wanting to practice my French, tried to say that I wasn't from around here, and wouldn't be much help due to me not being an employee. She did not like this. She started to berate me in English, and went something like, "Why the duck do you work here if you can't speak proper French? You should be fired for not helping me properly. You English retard." My French class, never prepared me for this type of situation, left me at the mercy of this intimidating Karen. If she wanted to know the names of every fruit in French, or where the nearest hotel was, I could have helped her, but alas, it seemed she needed paper towels instead. While she was in the full force of this tirade, an assumed manager walked up behind her, got her to turn around. She, of course, demanded I be fired. This manager just looked her in eye and goes, "Bordel, suis G sense fair. Si gamin anglais ni travail pas ici," or "What the duck do you want me to do? This English kid doesn't work here." She looked quite angry at this. Me, sensing another potential outburst, got the hell out of there as fast as I could. The rest of my stay in France was pretty standard, thank goodness. The moral of the story: don't go to France. Kidding, it was a nice country overall. I escaped with my snacks and ran to the Netherlands, where no French women could yell at me. The next story is titled "Sometimes It Doesn't End with Anger." This happened over the weekend. I went a few hours north to visit some friends. While I was visiting, we had a day of shopping/errand running, and one of my friends wanted to go to a bookstore. I've worked at this particular store before, just in a different city. As anyone who has worked retail before, the compulsions of cleaning are hard to get past. Anyway, we are in the bookstore and all just kinda doing our own things. I was looking for a specific Junji Ito book and, while browsing, kept absent-mindedly fixing things. At one point my friend was showing me some books she found, and we were next to a display table, and I was aligning the books and messing with the stacks, so it's easy to see why it looked like I worked there. I go back to browsing, and this girl comes up to me asking for help. She wanted an autobiography by someone, and I told her I knew where that section was as I had looked through it earlier, but I wasn't sure if they had the book, but that customer service was right next to the biography section. She stared sort of blankly and then asked me why I didn't just take her down there or to a computer to check. I told her I couldn't do that because I didn't work there and that they didn't have the self-serve kiosks anymore. She asked me why I kept straightening things if I didn't work there and why I had helped someone else. I then realized I had been on autopilot fixing shelves I was looking at and started to kinda chuckle. I explained that to her and that the other person was my friend. Luckily, she wasn't angry and regained me with her own retail autopilot story of her trips into clothing stores. I walked over the trailing and pointed to the customer service desk and biography section on the first floor for her. She was thankful and we parted ways. I will likely always remember this stranger. The next story is titled "Kid and His Parents Thought I Worked in the Computer Shop." For a little context, it was 2018 and I am a college student BSit at that time. I skipped class that day since there is a program happening at the school and we don't really have classes that time, but we are still required to go to school for attendance, and this college university closes its gate and no one can go outside if you entered. The computer shop I went to is my favorite computer shop near the university. I played Crossfire PH, an FPS game that I have been playing since 4th grade. As the game I entered ended, I noticed a young boy with his laptop cursing at it for being slow. I got curious and went to him and asked for him to let me see his laptop. "What are you gonna do?" he asked, and I told him that I could maybe help him fix the computer in exchange for him to keep his voice down. He handed me his laptop, and I immediately look at what is happening and noticed his laptop's storage are red. So clean it up for him, and his recycle bin is at 90 GB, so I asked him if he still needed the files and he responded with a no. So I proceed to delete it and clean the temp files and change his power options to high performance since it is in power saver. And his laptop is faster now, and as promised he kept his voice down. Then I returned to the unit I am playing in and played the rest of the day. The next day, I saw the kid again. This time, he is with someone. I am playing this time too, and I didn't really care about it. However, I overheard them asking for a technician that works in the computer shop. Then the unit I am using received a warning for 5 min session time left, So I stand up and went to the counter to extend my time, and the kid noticed me and yelled, "That's him." So I was concerned what the heck did I do or if I am in trouble. Then person with him introduced himself as the kid's father and thanked me for fixing his son's laptop, then proceeded to hand me payment for fixing it. I was reluctant to accept it, however. I was still dumbfounded at the moment, and before I could speak they already left. The next story is titled "High-Vis Shirt, Mucking Boots and Smells Like Death, Must Be an Employee." Last week, I swung by a sporting goods store after my shift. Despite brushing off like 30 times, I still have sand falling off with every step. My hair and beard's a scraggly mess. There was even a bit of sand still on my face that I didn't notice at the time, but duck it. I wanted a pair of hiking boots. Something to note, my sense of smell is quite muted, kind of a blessing. Given all the sewer work I do, I also sweat like a whore in church with even the slightest bit of duress. And if it is any hotter than the depths of my cold black heart. I am not talking my armpits get wet. I'm talking it looked and felt like I pissed my pants 5 minutes ago, but now all my clothes are equally soaked, so it doesn't matter, kind of sweaty. This combo leads to a lot of embarrassment, as I usually don't realize how bad I smell. So picture this, some 300-pound man in a high-visibility city uniform, leaving behind a light trail of sand and smelling like corpse juice and disappointment, walks past you and disappears into the shoe section. Later on you notice him mutter curses under his breath, fiddling with his left boot while inadvertently shaking sand everywhere in the process. Not even 2 minutes go by and you have an inquiry about something in the back. Who do you ask? An employee in a marked, specifically colored uniform, or someone who is built like aged butter with pubes stuck to it, and probably smelled like that too. Well, some middle-aged guy thought Pube Butter Man was an employee. It took a full 15 seconds for him to realize that I wasn't an employee, apologized, then walked off to the sports section with a look that almost made me want to write a joke about him going to look for really sturdy jump ropes. The next story is titled "I'm Not Your Slave Lady." During Easter 2018, I, 14M, was on a cruise with my family. At the time it was white night in the ship, so about 3 hours before the party on deck, I was already wearing full white. Most people hadn't changed yet, meaning I stuck out like a sore thumb, so while I was at the bar ordering a drink, a lady walked up to me and started berating me about how I should even serve her instead of getting drinks for those illegal immigrants. She pointed at my tanned dad and my lightly tanned mother. She assumed that my parents were illegal immigrants and that I was ignoring her. I turn around and first tell her that I don't work on the ship and that she is a horrible racist female dog. She takes great offense in that and scampers off like a rat. After she runs off, I promptly take my drink and walk away. I has assumed she was done, but just as my luck dictates, she returns with the captain of the ship and starts telling him how his Mexican slave was being disrespectful. WTF. The captain backs her up and tries telling me off until I started speaking, and he heard my Newfie accent. The look in this man's eyes when he realized I was a passenger dressed for white night. He then assumes that I'm Irish and tries speaking to me in a fake Irish accent. In the end, the lady gets dragged away by her husband, while the captain sits there covered in pina colada, specifically my pina cola, because Miss Karen deciding to rip my drink out of my hand and pour it over the captain. What the hell was her the process? That's my story of the racist cruise Karen. The next story is titled "Guy Phones a Hardware Store, Thinking It's a Hospital." I just remembered this instance I had. No meltdown or anything. Just a very confused guy. I used to work in a hardware store, and every time the phone would ring, I would pick up by saying hello, business name, then give my name. So the phone rings, I do the standard greeting, and the guy on the other end asks to speak to a certain doctor. I tell him he has the wrong number, that this is the hardware store. He goes, "Oh, so this isn't the hospital." I tell him it isn't. "We are a hardware store." He is silent for a moment, then goes, "Oh, okay," then hangs up. To be fair, the two phone numbers are extremely close. Where, for example, our number is 1111. The hospital was 1121. But still, shows how much people don't listen when I greeted him giving him our business name. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.